Hello everyone, today we'll be discussing the Java student grading system and testing its properties. So let's begin with the classes that we have within the project scope. First of all, the most the primary class within the scope of this project is student class, which contains attributes as ID, nationality, and birthday that defines the student, and a constructor that sets the values to the according variables, to the according class attributes. Then the methods we have, such as get ID, set ID, the usual getters and setters, and also edit, which is basically in an instance of the constructor. Let's say it's not a constructor basically, but it behaves as a constructor that runs after the object is already created. Then we override it to string class method, to be able to write it to output file easier than the usual. This is basically the student class. And also we implement a serializable method which makes the class be easily outputted to a data file in binary forms. Another class is grades that contains the grades. As you can see, the same methods applied here, same setters and getters, and also edit function. As you can see, department, course, and the attendance. We have all the classes specified within the UML diagram of the homework. So what I've done differently so far, rather than making arbitrary actions, such as having a container that contains all student, department, course, and etc. objects in the main, I've created a primary class, which is basically a control interface for the whole program. It contains the containers for any kind of class that we have within the scope of this project. As you can see, we have many list objects that varies on the data type, which are the classes of our own. As you can see, they are constructed and we will be using them. So this class is basically managing all kind of sorting, adding, listing, editing of the classes that we have and the object that we have. So let's check the first function we have, which is add student. We can create a student object with the help of student class with the blueprint of student, but when we would like to store them, when we like to store multiple instances of that class, we need a container. As you can see, there's a container of student class, and this function basically, what it does is it calls the constructor of student class to be able to create a new instance of it. Then add this new object, as you can see, this new object to the container we already constructed and created here. Then remove student. It takes an argument and checks if the ID matches that the one in the argument. This student should be removed from the list. Listing the student, which is iterating through all kind of objects within the container, then list them in such formatted output. Backup student and restore student. This is basically, so what we have done so far, as you can see, add student and remove student, are actions taken on the memory. So whenever whenever the session is terminated, nothing here is saved permanently if it's not backed up, unless it's backed up. So backup is taking the object from the memory, reading it, then writing it to a persistent file, and then a restore student, which is a function that to be able to read from the file and make it an object so we can read it back. Basically, the flow of the writing and reading is backing up and reading back. So we created file output and object output streams to be able to read and write to file and from class from object. Then if, as you can see, we have a try catch session here, if the process succeeds, then the message of students successfully written to the students that dot. This message prints out. If not, this is the exception we're going to be throwing. And restore student, it will read the file, the binary file. Then what it does is clearing the std list, which is the container of the student objects. It will clear in case of interference of the old and the new data. So it clears the whole list. Then it adds any kind of object written within the file and adds them to the list. And in case of any kind of failure, this exception will be thrown. And same methods applies for all kind of classes and objects. Less grade, add grade, yeah, that's it. Let's begin the testing our project. As you can see, rather than having all kind of actions that is stated within the student creating report file, I have created functions that contain specific steps of this testing process, so we will be easily implementing the whole thing. So let's start. Let's comment specific section of our code. First of all, we're asked to add all the data to the container that we have, which is education system. This is the interface that we manage all kind of storing, listing. So first of all, we can see that when we list the data we have without adding anything, you'll see that a little bit of issue. Yeah, it compiled. Now main, yes. Then we will, first of all, we add the data to the interface that contains the container of the objects. All data inserted successfully. Then we list the data we have. As you can see, the grades, the courses, the attendances, and the students are listed properly. Then what we're going to do is edit the object. So this is basically editing the department object within the container with such arguments. First of all, we check what is the first department name and ID, and we're gonna set it to translation, then list the data back. As you can see, the data manipulated, so it works. Now we're gonna back up the data. Attendance successfully written, courses successfully written, department successfully written, and the rest. Now we're gonna delete the object and list it again. Then restore all the data. That's it. Thank you for watching.